There are various departments of government. Government doesn't work on its own. It has several hands, several limbs through which it operates. So government has different departments through which it delivers its services. Suppose if you can remember, in state government there are certain departments, in central government there are departments. By division of power there are certain subjects have been assigned to states, certain subjects have been assigned to union government, and certain subjects have been assigned to the concurrent list where both can work. Suppose let us say education. Education is a department where both central and state government can legislate. But suppose defense is a subject where only union government can do its work. Suppose water resources, both the state and center and states, they can work. But like this, subjects have been assigned to different governments to do certain works. But mostly we have seen, and when you enter into the service, you will gradually also realize it. Government is always a very good planner. Government makes very good foolproof plans. But while it comes to execution, there are always a slip between the cup and the lip. Okay. So government can make legislations, government can formulate policies, government can make a very good comprehensive development plan of a city, but when it comes to executing it, government lacks certain efficiencies. Suppose it doesn't have normally sufficient manpower. Sometimes there are resource crunches. Due to various reasons, government is, while it comes to execution, government always suffers a setback. So that is why it requires partners at times. From there comes the concept of civil society and NGOs, where government cannot step in, NGOs can step in, where government cannot convince people, civil societies can convince people. This is how the concept of civil society and NGOs came into picture. To substantiate what I have said in the first one or two lines, I would just give you an example. The policy makers in over the different countries, they have seriously concerned about this issue, and in different forums also it has been discussed where government should focus more. Government, I have already said, the government cannot step in everywhere. Even if it tries to step in everywhere, they are likely to fail in certain spheres. So where government, which areas government should reserve for itself? You can name a department. You tell from your side. Atomic energy. Atomic energy is a field which it can never give to any other being, be it civil society or NGOs. Suppose another field is there, government should reserve for itself the sphere of defense. Defense cannot be delegated to anyone. Similarly, maintenance of internal security, police or other paramilitary organizations which are essential for maintenance of internal security and law and order inside society. It cannot be given away to anybody else. Suppose formulating foreign policy, can it be delegated to anyone? No, it cannot be. Suppose the Department of Law and Justice, can the courts be delegated to someone? Courts cannot be delegated to someone. Similarly, the revenue collection, it cannot be delegated to anyone. Finance, revenue and maintenance of resources, these cannot be given to anybody. Similarly, administrative reforms, it cannot also be given out to anybody. There is similarly, this list can be more exhaustive, but these are few areas which government should have exclusive right over all these departments. It cannot be delegated, but there are some other departments also which can be partnered with. Suppose you say education. In education, we can partner with NGOs, we can partner with civil societies, where in the where the question of dropout comes, where the question of universal education comes, we have to take the help of civil society and NGOs to rope in more people to the schools. Suppose we can say women's empowerment, PWD empowerment or minority empowerment. That is where NGOs can be roped in. Government can make regulations, but these people can be utilized to deliver the services under these departments. So this list can also be exhaustive. You can think in your own mind which departments should be government exclusive and which departments can be delegated outside the jurisdiction of the government. So broadly, let us say if we like education, also we can think about agriculture. In agriculture, government can think about giving subsidy, but about agriculture extensions, introduction of new technologies, empowerment of farmers, organization of mandis, these areas can be delegated to other governments or even non-government organizations. So SC/ST minority I have already told, women welfare that we have already discussed. Similarly, consumer welfare is another area where we can delegate the functions to NGOs or civil societies. Where the protection of rights, the consumer disputes, these things can be resolved by civil societies and NGOs. Suppose forest is a department where there is a lot of enforcement is required. The enforcement part can be kept with government, but regarding afforestation, regarding climate change, regarding maintenance of different watersheds, these things can be delegated to NGOs and civil societies. Let us say now we are talking about Asmita. Is it the responsibility of the government to do all these things? We can delegate this function to different NGOs and civil societies who can come up with promotion of literature, promotion of culture, organization of different Balijatra Uttam Sarkar Kursunti. Is it the job of government? Balijatra can be given to civil society, people of Katak, they can form a greater body to form all these things. Government should not waste its energy in trivial things. It should do only those things which others cannot do. If government thinks about running a bus, running a canteen, so these are wastage of energy and wastage of time of the government also. Similarly also in skill development sector, government can think about giving stipends, but it should delegate the job of selecting people, giving them trainings, engaging them with different industries. These things can be managed by NGOs. Like in recent past, we have also been hearing about microfinance and micro enterprises. Big industries can be set up by government because it requires a lot of capital investment. Suppose we are going to set up a locomotive plant or a steel plant. That kind of investment is not possible on the part of an individual or NGO. So that can be done by government. But when it comes to a bell metal industry or a paper mache industry or these are micro industries, microfinance, mission Shakti Sabu. These things, government should not be too much involved in all these things. It can be delegated. Government can, of course, monitor these things from above. See if things are happening in the right direction or not, in right perspective or not. That is always reserved with government. But government should not waste its energy in trivial things. Similarly, mass education and adult education. Creating schools, posting teachers is the responsibility of government. But maintenance of the garden of the school, preparation of the midday meal in the school. So taking people for a storytelling session, taking children for a storytelling session, taking them for an excursion, exposing them to a bigger environment. These things can be done by civil society. Few years back in School and Mass Education Department, an attempt was done to introduce storytelling in schools. How? Because in almost all localities, in every village you go, you find large number of old people, grandpas and grandmas. They're sitting idle, doing no work, and they also feel dejected. They also feel they are neglected by people. So the government decided that these people should be brought into the schools and given one period for storytelling. They have a skill in storytelling. Our young teachers cannot do that. So these old people can come, tell stories to children, ignite their minds, and at the same time, they also feel that they are of some use. So this kind of things can be thought about in different departments. Suppose hospitality is a sector. Suppose we have a tourism department and there are large number of tourist spots in Odisha. We have also created large number of tourist infrastructures. But is it necessary that government should post people to run these institutions, these cafeterias? These can be delegated to different NGOs or civil society organizations where they can do excellent job. In fact, also tourism department had started this job of giving this tourist infrastructure. Panthanivas jo sab bibhinna jagah rahitila, these panthanivas were given to NGOs for running these things. So they also get some livelihood out of that, and these resources are being also managed at very low cost. Suppose you post a peon in a Panthanivas for watch and word, he will take minimum 20,000. So if you give it to one NGO, 10 people or 20 people involved in it, they take 20,000. So, so many families, so many people are benefited in the process. So that is how they can be utilized. Suppose basic health care. Suppose there are government has a health department has facilities in PHCs and CHCs or in district level hospital. These are bigger institutions where it requires higher degree of expertise. So that can be managed by government, and government should post doctors there. But suppose in village level, for requiring a fast aid, for primary healthcare facilities, these things can be managed with the local community. So we are posting ASA Karmis, we are posting Anganwadis. So it can be more broad-based, and NGOs can be given the task of managing these healthcare facilities in the primary level. So even in the sub-primary level, they can be done. Because even PHC and CSCs are not located in almost all the areas. Suppose in a block you find 2 to 3 PHCs or CSCs. But a block area covers almost more than 100 villages. So in these 2-3 clusters where PHC and CSCs are located, there would be around 30 to 40 villages adjoining those. Rest of the 60 villages, they are at a distance. Some of them are cut off. So there we can engage civil society organizations and NGOs to do it more effectively. Even you must have seen sometimes economic surveys are done, household surveys are done, even census is done. Is it necessary that government people should go to house to house to do all the service? That can be very well done by the NGOs. So these are the areas where NGOs can do better. So first I told you some of the areas where the government should do, the central government or the state government should do, and delegate it to other departments. First I have told what things should be kept by central government and delegated to state governments. Then I told some areas which are to be retained in the state government level and delegated to local level authorities, and some areas which can be delegated completely to CSOs and NGOs. They are the broad areas. So why do we need to do all these things? ମୁଁ ଖାଲି କହିଦେଲି ଯେ government is competent in all these things and public are competent in all these things. That is why we can make a division of power. That is not enough. There should be enough reason behind all the decisions, all the thinkings we are making. While initiating this discussion, I had told you there is a saying, there is always a slip between the cup and the lip. When you are taking a cup towards your lip, Sometimes you have to flex your head, sometimes you have to bend your head, or you have to raise your hands to do that. The cup cannot directly fit into your lips, or your lips cannot come down to the cup. So you need to flex your muscles. You need to raise your hands. Your hand in this case is like the NGO. Government is putting a lot of services for the people, but people cannot access it. So someone has to lift them to, up to the level of the lip, or sometimes they have to make the, the lip is like the government. So lip has to come down to the level of the cup. So this flexing and bending function, or raising some people to a certain level, is the it can be compared to the functioning of the NGOs. चूली रे निया लगा जाए, फुंका जाए, चूली रे निया लगाला बेले निया तो लगा दिया जाए, केरोसिन से ढाल दिया जाए, किंतु निया सब वाले मन को मन जले नहीं. You have to use a piper to raise the flames. जदि निया जलु था ठीक रे, ताले हम तो डीएसएल मार देले, केरोसिन ढाल देले, तापर बसी दी पड़े हैं, तापर जगी की बसी हो पड़े, एवं वे फुंकी हो पड़े, फुंकी वाटा कामों कारो, फुंकी वा से फुंकन वाला हला NGO. It channelizes the air to flame the fire. So the government जो facility उड़ा लोगों को पे जाऊँगी, somebody has to flame it, somebody has to raise it, somebody has to act as a catalyst. Exactly, their role is that of a catalyst. Catalyst का काम होगा, it enhances certain functions. तो जो हजमी खाऊँ हजम करे अपनी सिगरेट तो खाते तो खाऊँ मन तो body has a mechanism to digest it, but it requires sometimes some enzymes and catalysts to make it faster. So delivery of services को faster करे पे sometimes NGO is required. NGOs are basically non-government bodies. They say they are non-profit making and service-oriented organizations committed to the development and welfare of the people. So first thing they say they are non-governmental organizations. We accept it. The second question is, they say they are non-profit making. We have to examine this thing, whether they are actually non-profit making or profit making. Third thing, they say they are service oriented. We have to also examine this perspective. And finally, they are committed to the development and welfare of the community. This also requires examination. What is their basic role? प्रथम कहिछि they are catalysts. जो मैं एग्जांपल दौली पीएचसी सीएचसी गोटे पीएचसी एरिया रे 10 कि 12 एडजेसेंट विलेज थी से दे कैन इजिली कम डाउन टू दी पीएचसी और सीएचसी टू गेट दी सर्विसेज गोटे स्कूल अच्छी पाखे जो घर गुड़िक अच्छी जो हैबिटेशन हैमलेट्स अच्छी दोज पीपल कैन कम टू दी स्कूल बट देयर आर ऑल्सो एरियाज which are at a distance of 5-7 kilometers, 10 kilometers. Children from those areas cannot come to school. Either we have to make them come to the school or we have to take the school to them. Similarly, in health services also, either we have to take the health services to their doorstep or we have to carry them up to the hospital point. So there is always a gap in those areas. These gaps, government knows, but still sometimes cannot do anything. Because it has limited resources, limited manpower, limited opportunities, limited time, all these things. Government is always stuck up in a lot of things. So to manage all these things, this gap management, जो gap टा रही जाउची सब बड़े between the planning and execution, से gap टा fulfill करे अपने NGOs act as gap fillers. So that is the main role of the NGOs. Second, I have already said government has limited resources, limited manpower, limited funds. And, everything is government has its own limitations. So even if it tries to do some good, it sometimes cannot reach people. Government makes lot of plans. Do you know how many schemes are there of the state government and central government? There are more than thousands of schemes, but hardly we know 3-4. Even I served in the government for almost 35 years. I was not able to go through all these schemes because every department has 10, 12, 30 schemes. So you can know only those things which come across you, otherwise you cannot know. So if I could not know how could the normal people, the illiterate people, the people who are backward, staying hundreds of kilometers away from media, hundreds of kilometers away from the knowledge centers, power corridors, how can they know it? So to make them know, to amplify the knowledge, their presence is, the role of NGOs are required. Suppose there are a lot of schemes. You need to educate people about the facilities available for them. So Consumer Protection Act gote achi. क्यों डाउरी प्रोहिबिशन एक्ट अच्छी डाउरी प्रोहिबिशन एक्ट ए समस्त जानीगले आते समस्त जानीगले कि कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट रे कौन कौन अच्छी ORTPS वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस इट इन द लेटर पार्ट ऑफ द सेशन से बहुत फैसिलिटीज अच्छी से फैसिलिटीटा कौन गोटे बालिका समृद्धि योजना अच्छी बालिका समृद्धि योजना कौन बेनिफिटा पाँच ममता गोटे स्कीम अच्छी हेल्थ डिपार्टमेंट ममता स्कीम रे कौन जड़े पाँच से बेनिफिट गुड़ा जब लोक न जानिबे गवर्नमेंट केते एडवर्टाइजमेंट करिवो केते पेपर रे छपेबो केते रेडियो रे कहिवो रेडियो रो इंपैक्ट अपेक्षा पेपर रो इंपैक्ट अपेक्षा रेडियो टीवी पेपर समस्त पाखे पहुंची पारे नहीं हॉर्सेस माउथ माउथ टू माउथ जोटा स्प्रेड करे सेटा बेसी लोकन को हार्ट रे टच करे तो सेगुड़ा ये जो एम्प्लीफिकेशन ऑफ डिफरेंट स्कीम्स फाइ मध्य एनजीओ मानकर रोल बहुत गुरुत्वपूर्ण थर्ड थिंग है अनेक समय एनजीओ मानकर दे हैव ए टू वे रोल दे हैव टू कैरी द बेनिफिट्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट टू पीपल एंड समटाइम्स दे हैव आल्सो कैरी बैक द वॉइस ऑफ पीपल टू गवर्नमेंट. So the people, backward people, the marginalized people, they have certain aspirations, they have some wishes, they have some interests. That interest has to reach the people because when the government is making a stakeholders meeting before preparing the budget, they are not consulting the people who are staying in Navada. They are not consulting the people who are in Telugu area or Sundargarh area, विभिन्न interior area जो नचन से मानो सा consultation हुए नहीं, हवा संभव नहीं है. Their aspirations, their wishes, their desires can be channelized by these NGOs and brought it before the government. So it is a support system to those backward people. And finally, this is how it makes a platform for collaboration between the public and the government. So it is a collaborative mechanism. Now we'll come back to those three areas which I had hinted. First thing, they are non-profit making. They say it's non-profit making. You can use your imaginations. You can use your common sense. Do they actually always work for non-profit basis? No. Do they actually do any service-oriented, take any service-oriented approach? You can, not always. Sometimes. Third thing, whether they are committed for the development of a community, development of an area, maybe sometimes. We have seen some NGOs who have usurped crores of rupees from government exchequers and fled away to different foreign countries. So profit making nuhanti ekatha, they do it only for the sake of avoiding income tax. They are for the purpose of avoiding local laws, they say we are non-profit making, so that they will not be within the purview of the income tax. But in fact, they earn crores of rupees. They make their papers in such a way that income tax people cannot catch them. They use the provisions of different income tax laws under exemption sections so that they cannot be caught. And another problem with NGOs is that it is not always run by the best people. They are always run by the second best or the third best. Suppose you have come here for clicking the civil services. तुम संगे बहुत फ्रेंड्स थी जो माने कि सिविल सर्विस क्रैक करी पारिबे नहीं चेष्टा करी करी सोने फेल मारी छंदे किछ कर पारे कोन करिवे जीवन तो किछ हेले करिवे आजिकल ये फाइन businesses NGOs start an NGO, get some government money, get an opportunity to go to foreign countries, develop relationship with senior bureaucrats and politicians, have your own empire, sit peacefully. That is what is happening. So sometimes the most intelligent people do not come. There are also exemptions. There are also exemptions where IAS officers, senior intellectuals, very good intellectuals, they have gone to public service to do these things. Suppose we can discuss about Medha Patkar. She is not an ordinary person. We can think about Anna Hazare. She is not an ordinary person. They are good. But in the name of running an NGO, sometimes bad people also make an entry. And the question mark is raised on good people working in the sphere. So there are also black sheeps everywhere. In bureaucracy there are black sheeps, in legislature there are black sheeps, in judiciary there are black sheeps, there are black sheeps everywhere. So एटी जो black sheeps की स्थानती तर आश्चर्य हर किसी नहीं, but they have to be kept an eye on. Like they do not have the best of people. They have also sometimes financial resource conscious. जो लोग चाकरी पाई पाला नहीं, जो लोग ता घरू से आनी की जम्बाड़ी बिकी की एनजीओ स्टार्ट करूँ चुकी, समझता माछ तलरे माछ भाजवा पे चेष्टा करती. जो मैंने एनजीओ करती, से गवर्नमेंट रू पैसा नहीं कि गवर्नमेंट पाई काम करती. से कहते वी आर एन एक्सटेंशन ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, वी आर एन एडिशनल हैंड ऑफ गवर्नमेंट. तो गवर्नमेंट रू पैसा नहीं से लोगों पाई काम करती. So तांका पाखरे अनेक समय निजर फाइनेंस न थाए, तेणु दे डिपेंड ऑन गवर्नमेंट फाइनेंसेस और एक्सटर्नल एड्स. If external aids are not coming, if they are not able to manipulate things in their favor, if they are not able to get government assistance, then they stop somewhere on the way. So the question of their commitment to development and welfare of the people stops there. It continues as long as they get funds from government or some external agency. And third thing, you might not have witnessed such things, we have witnessed. For getting this money, they start intense lobbying. Different NGOs have engaged third-party people to raise funds. Third-party fundraisers are being engaged by different NGOs. A third-party fundraiser, आम तो गोटे very intellectual, respectable word रे आम कहूँ. किंतु तो शुद्ध ओडिया रे कहजिबो कोन कहजिबो? दलाल. तो से दलाल बांग काम होला, सेमाने तांकर क्लाउड्स यूज करके पॉलिटिकल क्लाउड हो बा सोशल क्लाउड हो बा तांकर विभिन्न प्रकार सब मेथड्स अछि ताको यूज करके सेमाने डिफरेंट इंडस्ट्रीज, डिफरेंट कॉर्पोरेट हाउसेस, डिफरेंट गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स, मिनिस्टर्स, फॉरेन डिग्निटरीज एमान जाके अप्रोच करनते एवं सेमाने विभिन्न प्रकार सोशल कॉज देखै गिरे फंड्स आने पे लॉबी करनते. फॉर इन दिस लॉबिंग आल्सो दे आल्सो गेटिंग मनी. For getting money, they also give money. They give lot of presentations, and through them lot of maneuvers, manipulations happen. There are examples. I had attended a training program in Switzerland, in France, about corruption. There is an organization OECD. OECD रो जे हेड से आस्तिले से गोटे एग्जांपल हमको देले फॉर गेटिंग हेल्प फॉर ए एनजीओ. वन एनजीओ अप्रोच्ड वन गवर्नमेंट सीनियर गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल and the government official said, I will give you 1 crore. So deal was that my son will go to study in Germany, you fund his entire education. So out of this 1 crore, you spend 50 lakhs on him and you take back the rest 50 lakhs. This is how lobbying happens. Lot of other things. I cannot express everything here. Gradually, when you enter into this job, you will witness such kind of things. For all these nefarious activities, sometimes people are not also always fools. People, there are intellectual people inside the civil society also. They know what is happening where. For such kind of things, we have a reservation. The society as a whole has a reservation about the functioning of NGOs. जिते गोटे एनजीओ जाकि गोटे जगह काम करवा आरंभ करे लोके भावती ये कौट गोटे किसी पाइक पड़े मारदेकी आसी कौटे गोटे कौन करदे ये जो कामटा करुच्ची ये कामटा जो कर आमर असिस्टेंस लोड़ुची से बोध तार किसी मेजर प्रॉफिट थी से आसिक मुंड ये पिटुची एवं से तेणु if he is getting his share, we should also get our share. People also demand from them, and to satisfy people to have the scheme thoroughly passed, he also satisfies local community leaders, local politicians. ସେମାନେ ଆସିକି ଚାନ୍ଦା ମାଗନ୍ତି, NGO ମାନେ ବି ଚାନ୍ଦା ଦିଅନ୍ତି, NGO ମାନେ ଚାନ୍ଦା ନିଅନ୍ତି, ଚାନ୍ଦା ଦିଅନ୍ତି, ଟଙ୍କା ଆଣନ୍ତି, ଟଙ୍କା ଖର୍ଚ୍ଚ କରନ୍ତି, ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ହୁଏ. So everything is fair in love and war. This is a war, you can say, or a love for rural development, whatever you can call it. And nowadays also for these kind of activities, NGOs are under scanner of Government of India. A few years back, government had passed a Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So earlier, lot of NGOs were getting money from foreign countries, and they were promoting different other things which are contrary to our culture. Suppose promotion of Christianity, promotion of similar other things they were doing. So that has been stopped by government, and now only NGO can get foreign aid only if it is recommended by the Government of India. People cannot bring money from outside the country to wreck our own system. That cannot be allowed by the government. So this Foreign Exchange, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, after its coming, the free flow of fund to NGOs has been reduced to a lot of great extent. So now they have been facing a lot of resource crunch also. And another thing, difficulty with NGOs is that they lack accountability and transparency. Suppose Right to Information Act is now in vogue. If something is being done in any government agency, you can go and ask for the details if it is a government agency. But NGOs are non-government bodies, it's not a public authority. So if you ask for details of the funds spent here or the purpose of doing something, they may not oblige you, they may not provide you with the information. So they lack accountability and they lack also transparency. These are the difficulties with NGOs. So it has its positive sides as well as its negative sides. So in the positive side, it acts as a catalyst, it promotes government schemes, it amplifies government actions, bridges the gap between the cup and the lip, between the people and the government. It is also good in IEC activities, I tell you. Information, education and campaigning activities. These things. Suppose COVID upare gote campaign jetobale houtla. Jetobale leprosy upare campaign houtla. Jetobale smallpox upare houtla campaign. These things were run by NGOs. Jetobale houtla apanଙ୍କର in 90s jetobale jo mass education campaign सब होतला जो adult education program सब होतला so those are being run by government. So these are the good things. If the intentions of the NGOs are good, they can deliver goods. If the intention is bad, everything fails. But it has its strong points, it has also its bad sides. So to keep the bad sides on the check, audit of the public audit of these institutions are very much required. Government जमती रोची से तांगर परफॉर्मेंस ऑडिट हवा दरकार. सपोज से जो एग्जांपल टाइम दिल्ली कोटी टंका तू नबो 50 लाख टाइम पो पिछा खर्च करिवो जदि तापर पब्लिक ऑडिट हेतंदा से कोटी टंकार भाउचर कोठो आनी कि देबे किंतु यूजुअली होने आमे गोटे एनजीओ को सपोज ही कम्स ही सेज सर आमर बर्तमान क्लाइमेट चेंज इज ए मेजर इश्यू एंड ऑलमोस्ट ऑल द गवर्नमेंट्स आर डूइंग इट वी शुड डू इट आमे वी आर इमीडिएटली फ्लड आमर वी हैव टू स्पेंड आवर बजट सो वी गिव 20 lakhs to some agency to do some climate change activity. Climate change activity kona you will make some plantations, you will make some awareness programs. But thereafter, after giving the funds, we only ask him for the utilization certificate. But our people do not go to verify how many plants, how many saplings have been planted, how many are surviving. We do not check whether IEC campaign has been made in the villages ଏବଂ ତାର impact କ'ଣ impact assessment ଆମେ କରୁନେ ସେଥିପାଇଁ they go scot free. So government has to introduce more auditing, more transparency measures in the functioning of NGOs. They should be since they are claiming their additional hands of government, they should be regulated by all those rules and regulations which are applicable to government. That is how they can be kept a check on.